Well, while drones and school shootings have been getting a lot of share of the headlines to start off this week, immigration still churning in the background, and here to help us make some sense of it, Kate Lincoln-Goldfinch. She is an immigration attorney. Welcome back to the James Show. And the crowd is happy to see you again. Okay, so we have sort of an idea of what we can expect, at least in the first, 90 days, maybe just the first week of what Trump's going to do. What effect is that going to have on legal immigrants? Let's talk about them first, the legal immigrants that are already here.
Well, I think that we're going to see a lot of different actions that impact various programs. So some of the things that Trump has said he'll do is attempt to end birthright citizenship. So that what that might look like is that children born to immigrant parents in the United States might have difficulty obtaining U.S. passports after their birth, for example, or people who have naturalized might have their citizenship reviewed by what they're calling a denaturalization unit, which is going to go in and investigate for fraud in cases. People who have green cards or work permits will probably start to experience delays and difficulties in their cases. We saw processing times in the last administration double during Trump, 1.0. And so what that means is that people who are in regular immigration process with U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service just experience difficulties and delays in their cases. And then ultimately, I think some of the things we're going to see really quickly is this, emphasis on interior deportations, whereas in the first administration, there was a lot of focus on the border. This go around, there's going to be interior enforcement, and that will look like people who have outstanding orders are going to get picked up at their houses, but we'll also see a lot of work site audits and raids that is going to impact, the economy, I think, pretty significantly early on in the administration.
What about the people who are here on asylum claims? They haven't had their court date yet or had that all processed, if they're awaiting it. Do these people, do their odds go down of being able to stay?
Sure. I mean, once someone's in an asylum proceeding, the jurisdiction over that person and what happens with them lies with the immigration judge. But what we saw the first go around, again, is that, resources are cut, which, lengthens and creates difficulty, but also we start to see just different, policies, memos, executive orders, attorney general certification. So the immigration court system is actually part of the Department of Justice, which is part of the executive branch. It's not part of the judicial branch of the government. And so the attorney general of the United States can certify a case to him or herself and issue what's called a precedent decision, which impacts the way cases are decided. So even though these are court cases, the executive branch or the president has a lot of control and power over how the cases are decided. So I think asylum will get harder, cases will get more challenging, but ultimately people will still they will have access to the court system if the laws are followed.
Okay, so let's talk about what's missing. Trump 1.0 had travel bans that he implemented, or at least tried to implement in a couple of times. I haven't heard anything about a travel ban this time around. Am I just missing that, or did that fall off of the policy toolbook?
I have heard about some here and there, and I think there was a section on that in the Project 2025 plan, so we might see that again. I mean, the travel bans were blocked in federal court the first go-around pretty quickly. There were a lot of, there were so many policies in Trump 1.0 that there was one for every 4 days he was in office. It was sort of a nonstop, a barrage at what can we do that's going to hold up in court. And so they know a lot this time about what will survive federal court challenge, and those travel bans were blocked pretty quickly by the courts. So maybe they're not focusing on them as much because they don't think that they'll survive litigation.
All right, Kate, what about the business owners or managers around here that depend on foreign labor and some of these visa programs? Is there anything you would be telling them to do to prepare for January 20th?
Absolutely. This is a really legitimate concern. One of the ways that they're going to go after undocumented workers is through the job sites. So that means they're going to be conducting I-9 audits of employers. So these employers, everybody who employs immigrants needs to have a lawyer on hand who helps them think through conducting the I-9 audits. And then if there's a raid at our work site, who's going to be the response person? What are they going to do? Is there an area that's labeled private where, agents can't enter without a warrant? Are we clear on what that is? And who do we have in our workforce that's an immigrant? What are their needs coming up? Do they have a work permit renewal happening? Do they need to explore other options? How can we provide that to them? So being proactive and protective and thinking through this. I mean, this is the thing I tell employers and families in times like these is do not wait for the emergency moment to decide what you're going to do. Have a plan in place, because when, an undocumented mom is pulled over at the side of the road and her kids are in the back seat and she's getting detained, that is not the moment for her to figure out who she's going to call and who has authorization to take care of those kids. She needs to have a plan beforehand, as do the employers. We need to be thinking and preparing right now because we know what's coming. It's not a secret.
All right, this is Kate, Lincoln-Goldfinch from Lincoln-Goldfinch Law, and it's exactly like it sounds, Lincoln-Goldfinch.com. Thank you very much. Appreciate your expertise, Kate.